What's up, everybody? Appreciate you for tuning in to this edition of the On the Ball podcast. And yeah, it's like we're a day out from the NBA draft, but the NBA is kind of stealing a lot of the headlines around the sports world. So obviously, we got a lot to talk about in that sense. But we do have a little NFL that we will get into to start the show. But before we even do that, what's going on, Jory? See you in the comments. Obviously, as it says at the bottom there, like, share, tag followers. This could be a very good conversation tonight. We'd love to hear from you all in the comment section. But Brett, I mean, this has got to be the time that you love. Guardy3 NBA expert. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I love the offseason. It's a fun time. We got a couple trades over the past couple days. We got the NBA draft tomorrow. So I'm living it. I'm living life right now. I'm loving it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, no reason not to. Like I said, we'll start with some NFL, kind of get that out of the way. Make sure we have plenty of time for NBA talk. Aaron Rodgers, on his appearance with Pat McAfee, decided to let us all know that this season should be his final season in the NFL. I guess first off, if it is true, and this is his final season, his little farewell tour, I guess how should we remember Aaron Rodgers' career?
How should we? That's easy. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and one of the greatest quarterbacks you'll ever see in your lifetime. Like, really, when we're talking about the greatest quarterbacks, in the last 10, 20 years, obviously, first names that are going to come up. Brady. People are probably going to mention Mahomes. And then right after that, it's Aaron Rodgers. Like, I think that's the way that Aaron Rodgers should be remembered. Peak Rodgers is arguably the greatest talent to ever throw a football, and he should be remembered as just one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's like the talent was there. I think, for what a lot of people thought about him, maybe another ring probably would have done a lot for his resume, but he's still a champion. Can't take that away from him. He had great years in Green Bay. Not so much since he's left, but he's got this year with Pittsburgh. We'll see how that goes. If he can kind of ride off on a high, like if he leads into a playoff appearance and whatever, would be a good end to the season, especially after the 2 years with the Jets, which were just a disaster. But I mean, I agree with you. Like, he's a talented quarterback. I mean, obviously, I'm a big Brady guy as a Patriots fan. But yeah, Rodgers was a talented quarterback. Now, I think locker room wise, he was whatever. Like, I don't know if he was the greatest locker room guy as long as you weren't kind of like one of his guys, because we know who his guys are. He kind of dragged them along with him as he moved on. But he was a talented quarterback.
I say, as far as talent goes, arguably the most talented quarterback, right there with Patrick Mahomes that we've ever seen as pure thrower of the foot. Like, I think he's way more talented than Tom Brady. Tom Brady is better than him. I'm going to rank Tom Brady higher than him all time. But just as a general, like, on-field talent, Aaron Rodgers clears Brady, and I don't even know if it's really even all that close. So, like I said, I'm happy that I'm happy for Aaron, and I hope he gets what he needs out of this last year. If he can go out with maybe a playoff win or two on his way out, I would love that for him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I do agree, like, talent-wise, obviously, Rodgers is very talented. And also speaks to talent isn't everything. There are little intangibles that lead to winning. That's where Brady obviously makes up that gap talent-wise. So, yeah, he gets his farewell tour. I guess we'll see every week, how that looks. Certain teams maybe do something for him. I don't know. sticking with NFL and actually sticking within that division, I mean, we're starting to show off talking about Aaron Rodgers and now the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, you can tell it's a show. I'm not proud to start off with these two topics. We got to talk about them. The Ravens get Jair Alexander, and I bring this up because you are a Packers fan. And if there's any Ravens fans watching, what can the Ravens expect from Jair Alexander?
I actually think Jair to the Ravens is a great fit for him. I think the big thing with Jair, he needed to go somewhere where he was more of a luxury and not a need. Jair is still immensely talented in coverage, but ever since the injuries, he's not so much of a willing tackler like he used to be. But he's still a fantastic cover corner. So if I were the Ravens, I would be excited, within reason. He's going to be a great addition to the pass game. You're going to probably get a little frustrated at times with the run game. But honestly, if you just keep rotating him in and out, if I'm Baltimore, I'd be really excited because I think this is a great pickup for them.
I mean, look, he's added to a secondary that had some issues. Obviously Baltimore's going to hope that Jair can kind of cover some of those. But he's back there. We got Kyle Hamilton, great safety. Wiggins, the young guy out of Clemson. Still have Marlon Humphrey. I feel like Marlon Humphrey gets picked on a lot by opposing quarterbacks, but he's still an all-pro not that long ago. So, it seems like it's a good secondary for him to get in and try to carve out a role, whatever the role is that Harbaugh and those guys put him in. But as I've said before with the Ravens, they do all these moves. It's going to look really good in the regular season. Their season starts in January, and whether or not they make it to the big game in February. I mean, I know it's kind of early to predict this, but do the Ravens go into next season as the favorites in the AFC?
I mean, I think they'll go in as like one of the top betting favorites like every year. Like that's nothing new. They have great regular seasons. I want to see what happens, when the playoffs starts, but for some reason, every time the playoffs start, it's like that team just kind of forgets like discipline and protecting the football, just the little things that help them get by in the regular season. So I think they'll be betting favorites. I think they'll be right up there. The real question is, can they stay disciplined throughout the entire season? Because it seems in the playoffs that things like that just unravel for them as soon as the playoffs start.
Yeah. And that's going to be something until they actually do it, that's what's going to follow this team, kind of going forward, especially Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh, who I feel like those two need a Super Bowl appearance, maybe more than anybody in the NFL, because they've been around long. They've been together for a while now. They've seen some success, not at the highest level. I guess, but probably since he's kind of new, 10 minutes or so. Let's get into the NBA. It's been a wild start to the offseason. So far the answer to this one question is no. Well, yes. I mean, Jory, everybody knows how Jory and I feel about the Ravens and their discipline. But that's something that they have yet another season to prove that they've learned something from coming up short against Buffalo, Kansas City. Like this year, they have to kind of have to do it this year. Because if they don't, I'm ready to roast the Ravens for weeks after that. But like I said, moving on to the NBA.
Isn't that just like a yearly thing for you?
It kind of is, yeah.
It says he's ready to roast the Ravens for weeks.
It's one of the joys I get. Them Yankees failing in the World Series. It's what I live for. Yeah, so the NBA, like I said, there's so many moves going on. Let's start with maybe some of the lesser moves that were made out there, build our way up. Dallas Mavericks maybe surprise some by extending Daniel Gafford 3 years, 60 million. He'll play next season for I think 14 million, and then the extension will kick in. Basically, in Dallas for the next 4 seasons. Do you like this move for Dallas? You think they overpaid for a guy like Gafford? Like, what are you thinking with that move?
I think the extension itself is fine for a player of Gafford's, caliber. My concern now is what happens with Lively. Say, because I think in what is it? He's going to be up for a contract extension in what 1 or 2 years? I can't remember off the top of my head, but no,
Mhm.
I hope that I hope this doesn't mean that Lively gets pushed out eventually. Because you have Gafford and AD making good money. So, or if is this a way for them to just take advantage of Lively still being on that rookie contract? Time will tell. I like the deal, and I like it even more as long as it doesn't end up pushing Lively out because I think he has a lot of talent.
Yeah, I agree. I like Lively's game a lot. Um, I mean, look, with the amount of dealing that's going on, who knows? What's going on, John? So I actually did not see John's NFL question. We go to that really quickly, then come back. Do we think the Steelers get Ramsey? Still say he goes to the Rams or the Chargers. That's right, because Ramsey is still kind of out there and available. The Dolphins have made it pretty clear they're looking to move him. I don't know if the Steelers get him.
I think he probably goes back to LA. He seemed pretty happy with the Rams.
Yeah.
He just seemed more happy playing in the warmer climates of like Los Angeles or on the West Coast. So I think he finds his way back to the West Coast.
Yeah, I can agree with that as well. Okay, John, another question. With the Halliburton injury, do we see them drop 2 to 3 spots? Magic and the Pistons make big jumps and possibly one of them pass the Knicks to get to the third spot.
Oh
Now,
baby,
I know this is right up your alley because you have been tooting the Magic horn for it was like 2 seasons now. So I'll let you run ahead with that one first.
yeah, I think I think the Magic will. The Pistons, I think, will pass the Pacers. The Knicks are going to be a tough challenge because they're such a good regular season team. So with when it comes to say, I think they had a good postseason, but I can't really tell you about the Knicks because I need to see what kind of coach they get and
Yeah.
what kind of schemes he's trying to install. But I think it's very possible. But I think obviously the Knicks will still be good, and I think the Pacers will. I think they could still be a playoff team. They're just a very deep team in general, so they could still be a top 6 seed. But I think both those teams pass them. Orlando Magic made the bold prediction today that the Orlando Magic are the 1 seed next year, and Paulo Banchero is going to be the league MVP this upcoming year. So yeah, I definitely think that the Magic should pass everybody in the East.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Magic went out. They got Desmond Bain, a guy who gives them a shooter, which is something that they've needed. Move off the KCP contract, move out Cole Anthony, who just kind of just didn't fit anymore in a crowded backcourt. I would still like to see the Magic go get a point guard, but it's hard to deny that if they stay healthy, they're going to be a really good team next year. So I could see them jump up once again, as long as they all stay healthy. The Pistons, I mean, I would kind of like to see them make a move this offseason as well, but with the maturation with Cade Cunningham last season, I think they're a team that's ready to take a jump as well. So I could see them being top 4, maybe. I kind of agree with you. The Knicks are going to be a good regular season team. They're another team that has to kind of show up in the postseason next year, but they don't have a coach yet, so it's kind of hard to evaluate what they're going to be. And are they going to make a move? What kind of move are they going to make with that team? Because I don't think they bring the exact same team back like that. That'd be kind of crazy.
That's
So
that's that's kind of the tough part with the Knicks, right? Like we know
yeah,
they can perform in the postseason. They did it last year. But okay, who's this coach that they're bringing in? Like,
mm-hmm.
is he a good postseason coach? Because when you get to the big dance, there coaching really matters. So that's kind of my concern. It's like I know you guys can perform, but are you going to get the right guy at the wheel to make all of the right moves? So I they're still contacting guys under contract, except apparently they started talking to like Mike Brown. So
Yeah,
I still have no clue what they're doing with their coaching spot.
yeah. They interviewed Mike Brown already. They're supposed to interview Taylor Jenkins. I don't know if that's happened yet. And I believe I saw today they put in a request. Is it Nordy or somebody off the T Wolves staff to interview? So, yeah, after going after every coach they could think of under contract, now they're starting the real search now. And I guess we'll see how long that takes. Wouldn't you like to think maybe they would have wanted the coach kind of in place by the draft so you can kind of draft for the coach's philosophy? I don't know if that happens or not, but um, yeah, that's the Knicks for you. Um, I mean, John's kind of hitting on trades that we were gonna talk about. So, I mean, John, you keep them coming. So, just to finish up with Gafford, I agree with you. If you're gonna sign Gafford to the extension, I would hope Lively probably has something in the works because I do think Lively's ability to play above the rim, he's the more athletic of the two. I feel like that might be the more important piece between them with AD, but I guess we'll see what happens with Lively. But I mean, keeping Gafford around, I don't hate it.
So he has 2 years left on his contract, two club options, which I'm sure they'll
Okay,
exercise. Then he's a restricted free agent. So
yeah, so they got a couple of years left before they have to make a decision on them. So okay, let's see which one do we want to tackle with John here. Let's go with the Pelicans one because John wants to know our thoughts on CJ McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, who I swear Kelly Olynyk's name comes about every trade deadline and every offseason. Future second round picks of the Wizards for Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, and the 40th pick. I mean, is there a winner in this trade? I don't know. Like,
I mean, it's just the Pelicans probably for flipping Poole into CJ McCollum, who's an expiring contract. Like
mm-hmm.
this opens up a ton of cap space for the Wizards, which is great because it'll put them in positions now to acquire even more assets to acquire contracts that maybe teams don't want. Maybe next year, if Philadelphia falls apart again and they're desperate to move off Paul George,
Mm-hmm.
now the Wizards are an option and they can keep adding to their future draft assets. So I can see the vision for the Wizards get a bunch of expiring contracts and just kind of continue the rebuild for the young guys and hope a couple hit, maybe take on a couple of unwanted contracts, keep adding more assets. So, and when it comes to the Pelicans, I think Jordan Poole probably played his best basketball with the Wizards last year. It's probably his best shooting year for them. He still has some downhill juice in the tank. So I think he showed that there could still be something there. I don't think he ever lives up to the contract that he's on currently. But I think last year was a really good step in kind of showing that he's still an NBA caliber player that not saying he never was, but like a positive NBA caliber player still. So I think that why not take a chance on him if he works out? Great. If not, and Zion stays hurt, you're just probably rebuilding for the most part anyway. But I think with Jordan Poole or Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, I could see Jordan Poole continuing to bounce back.
I mean, look, it's like you said, the worst thing's going for Jordan Poole right now, is the way he left Golden State and everything that happened there and the contract. Like, Jordan Poole isn't a terrible player. I mean, it is fun to kind of make fun of him, pool party, and all that kind of stuff. Like he can score. He's got a little streakiness to his game, but he's a guy who can fill it up if he's having a good night. So, for the Pelicans, like you'll take that. Sadiq Bey is a guy that Sadiq Bey is kind of like a younger version of Olynyk, where his name constantly is out there in rumors. So, he's a guy who can knock down a perimeter shot as well. I guess for the Wizards, yeah, you're just trying to scrape at something for next season. Like CJ McCollum is a guy I haven't necessarily been the highest on. He had his best years in Portland, I guess, with Dame, but those teams were never real contenders because the way they built their teams behind two small guards, and then he was in New Orleans, and it was like wasn't that good down there. So, maybe Washington is the place for him. I don't know. Kind of play out of the spotlight, and maybe he can regain something. But I think ultimately it's a deal that by the time we get to the season, you'll probably forget about it until you see the Pelicans and go, oh yeah, that's where Jordan Poole is now. And if you find yourself watching the Wizards, you'll go, there goes CJ McCollum. And that's when you'll remember this deal happened.
No, absolutely. Hey, you know what? Like I said, it'll be interesting between him and you know what? It's a perfect spot too because it's funny because like you send him to New Orleans and now he's not the center of attention anymore, so that might take some pressure off of him. Because all eyes are still going to be on Zion next year, so that might help him out a bit. Where everybody's not just kind of picking and poking fun at him,
right? And hopefully the eyes in New Orleans are on Zion on the court and not him sitting on the sideline, street clothes. But only time will tell. I didn't even see his little say that you've been a Magic fan since they got Paolo. I mean,
hey, isn't that how it normally works?
Praises since they did get Banchero.
Hey, that's normally how it works, right? You find a player that you like, and that's kind of what happened. I just liked watching Banchero, and the Magic picked him up, and then just kind of slowly, you start with Banchero, and then you're like, oh, I like the way this guy plays. I like the way that guy plays, and now you're just kind of like the way Orlando plays.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is why I love the addition of Desmond Bane. I thought the one thing that kind of sucked watching them was their consistently poor spacing, and I think Desmond Bane helps with that a ton.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, look, Orlando, when all pieces are on the floor, they are a fun team to watch. Like they play good defensively. Banchero is fun to watch. Franz Wagner has some ability. Now you throw in Desmond Bane, Orlando is going to be an interesting team next year. All right, so we'll get to John's other one because that was on the list, even though it literally just happened before we came on. Kristaps Porzingis is in Atlanta. He's in my backyard. I could go down to Atlanta and watch him play. I probably won't because I don't do that with the Hawks, but the Hawks get Porzingis in a 3-team deal, which I got to tell you what Brooklyn gets out of this. Because Brooklyn, if they are serious about kind of fixing things there, they're going to have so many shots at the bullseye with these picks. So I had to look it up for everything that's going on. So it's the Celtics, Hawks, and the Nets. The Hawks get Porzingis and a second-round pick. The Celtics get George Niang and a second-round pick, plus they get out of the apron, which is probably the biggest part of the deal for the Celtics. The Nets, because they help facilitate the deal, like the story says, they get Terrence Mann and the number 22 pick in the draft. Brooklyn now has number 8, 19, 22, 26, and 27 in the first round, plus they have 37 in the second round. So Brooklyn's a team you're going to hear a lot from in the first round. And with all those picks, they could get crazy and move up if they wanted to. So looking at this deal, I guess rank them in terms how well they did with the haul in this deal. Who do you have winning it? Who do you have losing it?
It's funny because I think almost every team kind of won in their own way, right?
Hmm.
We know the Hawks' goal is just make the playoffs. They don't really care what happens once they get there. They just want those extra games for that revenue. They've never haven't really seemingly tried to build a very serious playoff team in a minute, which I think they're doing much better with like getting Rasheer and Jalen Johnson, Trey Young, but adding Porzingis will definitely help them. It gives them a nice stretch five, and it should make them better, and make them a solid bet to at least get into the first round to get knocked out. Maybe even to the second round if they get the right matchup. But I think this does, for sure make this team better for the Celtics. I think, they got worse on the court, but they save 180 million in luxury taxes
Hmm.
and they get out from under the apron. And what was you said it was gorgeous Niang, 42% 3-point shooter last year about.
Yeah.
So he'll at least help with the spacing. So in terms of talent, the Celtics clearly downgraded because they lose the rim protection that was provided to them by Porzingis. But overall, I think just getting under the salary cap and kind of looking forward, this is the best way to maximize your title window with Tatum under these aprons. So I think it was a good call by them to move on from Porzingis and Holiday and take this leap year. And if you're the Nets, listen, you have a lot of holes to fill. Getting another first rounder is actually pretty great. If I'm them, I'm going to consolidate some. Hey, maybe see if you can move closer into the top five. Maybe trade like 2 or 3 first to move up into the top five, and then you still have another 3 picks to still mess with. So overall, I think this is a deal where actually every single team gets the desired result. Atlanta gets their playoff berth most likely this year. They might just be a straight up top 6 seed, skip the play-in altogether. Say the Celtics get under the luxury tax and theoretically continue to expand on that, Tatum window when he comes back next year, and the Nets just get more picks to move up or
Hmm.
make a big trade.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Porzingis is the type who will fit, I guess, with Trey Young. Now, I do think the two names you mentioned Reese Shea and Jalen Johnson. Well, Jalen Johnson's gonna have to stay healthy next year because when he was actually on the court, like the Hawks looked like a much better team. The minute he went down with the injury, that's when their season kind of fell apart. Yeah, Brooklyn. I mean, do whatever you need to do with these picks, but them gathering assets is clearly the best thing for them right now. And like you said, with the Celtics, Niang, 42% 3-point shooter. So he fits Missoula ball. And them getting under the apron, like you said, this is kind of a year where they wanted to be competitive, but they had to shed salary. That way when Tatum comes back the next year, you can now focus on your future with Tatum. You have to say Brown and White as your core three. And then the pieces around them, they have some young guys, Jordan Walsh, like J.D. Davison, Baylor Shireman, who will probably get some good run this year and, see what they are moving forward. So, yeah, I don't hate this for any team in this deal. For Atlanta, like I said, Atlanta's right here in my backyard. They make a lot of dumb decisions. This one I can give them a thumbs up for. Like this one makes sense to them. Maybe it's a new day in Atlanta. Probably not, but it is for today. John brings up Malcolm Brogdon. Do the Celtics bring him back? I'm gonna say probably not. But he's been linked to the Kings, Clippers, your Bucks, and the Mavs.
I doubt he comes back to Milwaukee.
Yeah, Brogdon. I think
Brogdon,
unfortunately, like the injury he had before he left the Celtics, kind of like derailed the momentum he kind of had, and now he's kind of just going to start bouncing around the league. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up with maybe the Kings. I don't know. Or the Mavs.
Yeah,
I guess the Mavs could use the backcourt help.
yeah, I don't see it. Like Brogdon was not a big fan of Milwaukee. He literally made comments like, "I've never lived in a city that was so segregated." So like he was not a big fan of the city. So
Mm-hmm.
I do not see him actually even bothering. I almost feel like he'd rather go play, in like China rather than actually come back to Milwaukee. Like he really did not like
Mm-hmm.
his time here. So say Clippers, maybe. Honestly, if you had to give me a pick between those teams, I could see the Mavs taking a chance on them. They need some backup point guard play behind. You know, they're gonna have Cooper Flag as a primary ball handler. Kyrie would be back. You throw Brogdon into the mix, it might be perfect because you don't have to give him a massive role, and you can maybe keep him healthy until the playoffs, which
Yeah.
is a big ask because he's always hurt. But maybe.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think Brogdon necessarily liked the way that it ended in Boston, so I doubt that's even a thought on his mind. So
Brogdon just
uh
doesn't like anything. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, he might just be one of those guys. So yeah, I think most likely Kings, Clippers, or the Mavs have a shot at him. Let's see. Chris Middleton made some small news. He picked up his player option. I mean, it's 33.3 million. Hard not to, see him doing that. But I guess you got to factor him in to Washington with McCollum and Olynyk now. Does Middleton, I guess, play out next season in Washington? Do you think the option makes it plausible for them to move him? Like, what do you see with Middleton for next season?
I could very well see him just staying there until the deadline. He's definitely very movable,
Mm-hmm.
especially at the deadline. We're talking about an expiring contract, but yeah, no, it didn't shock I think anybody that he opted in. 33 million is just a lot of money for Chris at this point in his career. Happy for him, and yeah, I think he'll have no shortage of suitors if he gives them a solid half a season. He comes back and he shoots as usual around, let's say even if he shoots 38% from three with his usual playmaking chops, yeah, he'll have no
Mm-hmm.
shortage of suitors, and he'd get dealt at the deadline for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what I thought. It was like at his age and the money that's there, why not pick it up? If Washington kind of shows some improvement, he could have a big part in that. Maybe Washington seems a little more enticing for him to maybe extend his stay for a little bit longer. But yeah, if Washington isn't good again next year, he would be an expiring deal. Some contender could look to get him at the deadline. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense for Middleton. And yeah, we'll see where he finishes the season next year. But it was a move I expected. Let's see. All right. So I guess the bigger moves. Well, you did mention Holiday, so we'll talk about that one. The Celtics did move Holiday last night for Anthony Simons and 2 second-round picks. I will say, as a Celtics fan, I was surprised that the type of player that they could get back for Holiday without attaching a pick to him is an Anthony Simons type. 26 years old, can create off the dribble, can shoot the ball. And I think now with like the Porzingis moves, maybe it is more likely that Simons is part of the plans next season. I mean, I don't know because I can't predict Brad. Like Brad could flip him tomorrow for something else, for all I know. But I guess for the Celtics, what do you like about what Simons can bring? Do you think he does fit? And then how does Holiday fit in Portland, which is where he was before when the Celtics went and got him? He was in Portland. He just never played there. So, you know, do you see him sticking around in Portland this time around?
Yeah, I think he's sticking around. The thing with Drew is, I think we kind of all saw it in Boston. Is I love Drew to death, but I think he was pretty clearly declining, kind of
Mm-hmm.
throughout the year. And we're talking about a guy who's on a 4-year, $134 million extension that I think kicks in this year. So I think with that amount of money, he stays. That's why I thought Boston would actually have to give up a pick to get rid of Drew. But overall, I love the move for Boston. When it comes to Anthony Simons, obviously he can play make and add some scoring. That's something that they'll desperately need next year with Tatum out of the picture. The big drawback, and this is where they're going to have to do a ton of work, is his defense is awful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wouldn't trust him to guard a parked car. Like, it is really bad. So he can get on one. He can get on a heater. He can put up 20 quick points for you. But if you're not careful, he's going to give up 25 going the other way. So he's a little inconsistent. He's a little streaky offensively. He's almost like that perfect, like, your six-man role where you kind of throw him out there to see if he's hot that night, and then you just let his play decide his minutes. So overall, I think it was a good move. The fact you got 2 seconds, and even if Simons doesn't work out, his contract is expiring at the end of the year. So you can just let him walk at the end of the year. For the Blazers too, it's interesting. I think that Drew Holiday does help them.
Mm-hmm.
Giving up 2 seconds to get him, to me, is questionable. But there's no denying the fact that he is going to give their defense a big boost. Camara was a all defensive second team member last year.
Mm-hmm.
Pair him and Holiday, that'll give you a great skeleton or a great head of a good defense. So I think that this will help improve their defense a ton. I don't think the contract necessarily ages well. I think Drew will just kind of age out of it, and it won't look great in maybe like years 3 and 4 if he doesn't retire before then. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't like they gave up 2 seconds to get him, but the idea of Drew there being a mentor to these young guys, I think he can help their progression. So I don't hate getting Drew for the Blazers. I just don't like them giving up picks to do it.
Right. And I think when I saw that he was going back to Portland, part of me was thinking, is there some pressure on maybe Billups to show some improvement next year? And like John said, maybe all that means is make the play-in. And ownership and everything feels a little better about the direction Billups has the team going in. And if that's kind of what the mandate is, then yeah, Holiday's the type who can help that team get there. Like you said, mentoring a Scoot Henderson or whoever. Holiday is just a pro's pro. Like, he's going to show up, he's going to go to work, he's going to be a leader on that team. He'll be an extension of Billups out on the court. Like, I definitely see why they would do it. And look, even if it is just for next year, just to maybe make the play in and try to build off of that, following year, the contract looks a little less horrendous. And then maybe they just move him for something else. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I see what he could do in Portland. I agree with you. Adding the 2 second-round picks to it, not the best. But I think the Celtics, in order to get him, gave Portland like a first-round pick for him. So maybe that makes it feel a little bit better for Blazers fans. But yeah, I like seeing Simons. I agree the defense is not his strong suit. But all they kind of would be asking him to do in Boston is kind of fit kind of a team defense scheme. And if he can at least get better there, then fine. Like, he doesn't have to be a great defender. Be an average defender. Be in the spot they need you to be. Cover the guy they need you to cover. Like, don't just allow guys to rim run. At least get in their way a little bit, and you'll be fine. So, and he's younger, athleticism, something that Celtics aren't going to hate having around. So, yeah, I definitely like the move.
I'm more curious with Brad Stevens. Who's he going to bring in to play center? Like,
that is the next thing, because he's got to answer that question.
like Porzingis is gone. Cornette's probably gone. Like, I don't think Al can play 48 minutes the entire season. I don't think, but every time I doubt him, he proves me wrong. So
True,
maybe.
but yeah, I don't even think Al would want to sign up for that. They do have Keita, who is probably a good backup big. You don't want him starting, 80 some nights a year. I don't know. Maybe they draft a big man, but yeah, who knows? I mean, what we do know is Brad probably has some plan in place. Supposedly he wants to move up in the draft. I don't know who he would be targeting, but I don't know. They actually have a few holes left to kind of fill after these two deals. So, let's see. John, let me catch up on your comments. Holiday's going to retire in 2 to 3 years. He probably could be. He'd be what, 37 by then? Yeah. Portland makes the play-in. I see them jump the Grizzlies, the Kings, and the Suns. I think it's ambitious.
It might not be that ambitious to jump the Kings and the Suns.
Maybe the Grizzlies part. I don't know. Well, I don't know. The
It'll
Suns, we don't know what their roster is going to be yet. I doubt they're done. I mean, you look at their depth chart, they need to make some more moves.
Yeah, they're paying $160 million to 4 shooting guards.
That is, like even when they make a move, they're still in a terrible position.
Like, the big problem with the Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker trio is their skill sets were redundant.
Yeah.
So when they trade Kevin Durant and bring in the most redundant player to Bradley Beal and Jalen Green that they could possibly bring in, like, that was the funniest thing to me, because literally I was saying that like the day before, like, there's just no way the Suns want Jalen Green, right? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, they traded for Jalen Green. It's just like, what are you doing? Like, what's the game plan here?
Yeah, like, unless they find somebody to take Beal, which I know in our chat that was put in there, like, the Bulls are interested in Bradley Beal. Yeah, that's all well and good, but is Bradley Beal interested in Chicago? Probably not. So that's kind of a dead end street there. The Suns are fascinating for all the wrong reasons, because, like you said, if they go into next season, Booker, Beal, and Green, who's playing where? Like, who are you going to convince the coach to make one of them a point guard? Like, we've seen Booker do it in stints, but you don't want him doing that all the time.
So, like,
Beal can't do it. He stinks at it. And I doubt you want to try Jalen Green at it.
Say Devin Booker would have to be the point guard.
Yeah.
Like,
that kind of, you feel like that kind of takes away from
Jalen Green's too small to guard threes, so I guess you put him at the 2 and pray that Bradley Beal can hold up against threes. Like that.
Good luck.
Yeah, pretty much. I saw the report that the Bulls were interested in Beal, like they'll be willing to take him on. Like, I don't know if Beal wants to go there, and I would just feel bad for our guy William, Bulls fan, because, like, I couldn't imagine trying to hype them up. Like, guys, we got a big 3 of Giddey, Beal, and Vucevic. Like,
brutal.
Cause alcohol sales to spike all across Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I mean, the Kings haven't really done anything worthwhile. I mean, maybe it is not that. It's maybe not as crazy as I thought. Well, the Grizzlies with Ja, Triple J, and whatever else they have out there, like, they're not going to be great. I don't know if they'll be as bad. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe the Grizzlies in Portland are, like, fighting it out in the play, and who knows? So it's not as crazy as when I first read it. Watch them bring in Drummond. Talking about the Celtics bringing Drummond or what? I mean, I wouldn't.
There you
I
go.
mean,
That's what you need. You need some Andre Drummond post ups in your offense.
like, if he's coming in just to rebound, fine, do it. But yeah, I could already see Drummond just clogging the lane, hold that hand up there, and you're just like, I'm not throwing it into you. What are you gonna do with it? Like Drummond's just
Yeah.
always okay.
He's gonna throw up a 5-foot hook shot that's just getting all rimmed.
Oh, God, yeah, the fans will just be like, boo, and I don't like that.
I've never seen anybody with more less impactful 2020 games in my life than Drummond.
Right.
Like, hey, he had a 2020 game. The Pistons lost by 30, but he had 20 and 20.
Yeah. Didn't he call himself the greatest rebounder of all time or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I want that in Boston now that we're talking about it. John said if the Pacers move on from Turner, would you really want him though?
The tough part about him, I'm sure Boston would be interested in Turner. The problem is you're trying to shed all the salary, right? And we're talking about Miles Turner would probably get 25, 30 mil a year in free agency. So
yeah,
that's the tough part. You're trying so hard to shed salary, and then you really want to turn around and spend 30 million and put yourself right back into the second apron for Miles Turner.
exactly. And Turner had a rough final series. Hey, going on the free agent market, if he does, that's going to be the last thing that people remember. How much he kind of struggled in the final series. I mean, I think Turner is a good player. Unfortunately, I think some team might pay him like he's a great player, and I feel like that's where he's going to run into some issues. Damien, what's going on? No to Beal to the Bulls, please. I think you're safe, Damien. I don't think Beal wants to waive his no trade to go to Chicago. Damien says, I wouldn't mind Miles Turner to Chicago. Miles Turner and Vucevic. There we go.
Hey, the real
towers we did not know we needed.
The real guy to watch out for in Chicago, Matas Buzelis. That kid is going to be really good.
Mm-hmm. I like his game. Yeah. Okay. Let's see the next deal. I guess it'd be KD and here we go. I can see the Celtics maybe go after Clint Capella or Brooklyn. Two names I don't. I mean, if it came out to those two, I'd rather play a rookie. Yeah. I mean, Brook Lopez has some value. He's just old, man. I just.
He still's a solid 36, 37% 3-point shooter. He can still space the floor for you. Obviously, the problem with Brook is he's just very matchup dependent, and you really only can use him in drop coverage. So, again, shooting bigs or real pull up threats, it's hard to play Brook. But that's really I would like his fit in Boston if you can get him for cheap enough. Obviously, the issue is just being that you can only really play him against maybe 10 to 12 teams that aren't going to make the playoffs. Sometimes there's a problem to play in the postseason.
Yeah. And Clint Capella, I'd been screaming for years for him to get out of Atlanta. The last thing I want is to then see him in Celtics green next year. So I'm going to know with him. Bring back Al Horford, John. You're talking to two guys who love Al Horford, so I would love to see Horford back in Boston. I just don't know if the price necessarily will fit right now, but they make another move or two, who knows?
Say, if they don't bring him back, you're going to get ready for some Xavier Tillman at center minutes for the Celtics.
And trust me, that's nightmare fuel right now, but he is there and he is a big body. So I mean, I do think some of these moves are to try to open up a way to get Horford or Cornette. If not, my biggest thing is I don't know what Cornette kind of commands on the open market. Now, he did do himself a lot of favors. That game against the Knicks when he had like 6 blocks and was just going crazy. I think that's enough kind of tape for some team to maybe overpay for him. But if his number isn't crazy, I would love to see Cornette back with Boston as well. Damian, where do y'all see DeRozan going if the Kings decide to trade him?
Why not? It's funny with DeMar because like when we're talking DeMar, you got to think like slower pace teams because that's exactly that's his game. He wants to play in the half court. So the first team that comes to mind, like John says, Clippers or Miami, and I think both teams just make too much sense for a player like DeMar DeRozan. They're both slower paced teams, and we're talking about, especially in Miami, you're looking at a team that just needs help scoring in the half court, and DeMar can provide them with them. So I would love to see him go to either. I would love to see him in Miami or LA. That'd be terrific for honestly DeMar. Honestly,
Miami does seems like a fit. Going to the next year, Miami has the same issues they had this year, where it's like you're looking at Hero to have a big night, or Bam. If not, it's kind of a struggle. So DeRozan would be a guy because they do play a lot of half court with all those dribble handoffs and all that. Yeah, DeRozan would definitely fit there. I could see Miami. DeMar to Toronto, I'm going to say probably not. I think he already did that. Been there, done that. Yeah. And if you're Toronto, do you necessarily want DeMar at this point in his career and where they kind of are right now, which they're still trying to find their way?
That team's trying to do like a whole youth movement up there. So I don't think DeMar's a real great fit. Say Miami's always just trying to win every year, regardless if it's playoffs, play-in, like. So I think DeMar to Miami to me just kind of makes the most sense.
Yeah, and looking at kind of the landscape of the East, Miami could convince themselves that you get a DeRozan, maybe that sneaks you into the top 6, maybe. Obviously, depending how far Indy drops off, Boston, teams like that. But yeah, Miami's in a weird situation. They're just in limbo right now, which is probably the worst place to be in the NBA. Like, you either want to be really good or terrible. Miami's just mid. So that might be motivation for them to pursue a guy like DeRozan.
Well, if it,
go ahead.
Say the thing that accomplishes the most is Bam doesn't have to worry about being the second option. So, been very adamant that second option Bam hoops is just an awful watch. Bam is a really good basketball player, but he's not a second option on a good team. So, I think you need to find a way to get Bam kind of to be more like secondary, or like maybe just like a secondary, or more of a third option. But I think more importantly is he should just be mainly a playmaking hub and just a third option. So I think you just need to get another scorer, somebody who can take away the second option role from him.
Damian, I don't trust Spoelstra as head coach. I've had some conversations about Spoelstra because, look, he looked great when you had the Heatles, but then again, who wouldn't look good with those 3 as your best players? He had some good moments with Butler, but Butler's obviously not there anymore. Like, is he the guy to kind of get this group to play over their head? Probably not. And some of that is because of the talent that is in Miami. I don't know if I don't trust Spoelstra. I definitely do think that with the talent eroding around him, the shine is kind of wearing off a little on Spoelstra, at least to me. I don't know how you feel about him.
Say think another interesting part about the Drew Holiday trade is just saw a report that apparently Drew is very unhappy about getting dealt to Portland again. So we'll
Hmm.
see. We'll see if he even wants to play there. That should be interesting.
Yeah, I just saw that too, and I knew he would be because like when they got eliminated, he was basically begging to stay at the podium. He's like, "Yeah, I want to be here because I want to win." It's just the unfortunate part of kind of Adam Silver's vision for the NBA, where teams aren't loading up with big contracts and kind of dominating that way. This is his way to create parity, and that's what he's done. It was 7 years, seven new champions. Like that's parity. Like the definition of it. I did see a graphic where they put like David Stern. I think in his 30 years there was only 8 champions or something. In the last 7 years, Silver's had seven different ones. So
He's had nine different champions in the 12 years
yeah,
he's been the commissioner.
yeah. So it's unfortunate. Like Brad Stevens would love to keep Holiday and Porzingis. You just can't operate like that anymore.
Oh, that I feel like that's going to be a big talking point in the next CBA. Like the second apron has got to go. Like that
Yeah.
second apron was a terrible idea. Like CJ McCollum and company. Like I know there's more people to negotiate it than CJ McCollum, but they did an awful job with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they do have to kind of find a way to kind of blend the two because, like I said, the fact that the second apron forces moves like this from a team like the Celtics, Silver likes that. It's just that you're going to have a lot of angry NBA players because now they're being moved not because of their ability or anything, because of their price tag. And if you have some owners out there that are willing to pay big money to field teams, like you can't necessarily deny them that. So I agree with you. Maybe the second apron is something that goes away. But I guess we'll have to, wait and see when CBA talks happen, if that does happen. Because yeah, if more teams start being dismantled like this, you're gonna have a lot of angry players running around in the league. John, Warriors move on from Kuminga. I feel like don't they kind of have to? Like Steve Kerr doesn't want to play him. Why would you keep him?
Yeah, when everybody's healthy, he doesn't play. So I don't know why you would even bother keeping him. I would move on when, get something for him this off season and just kind of move on from that whole experiment.
Mm-hmm. Which one day we'll probably learn what happened with Kuminga. It's kind of fascinating to me because yeah, is Kuminga a perfect player? No, but for a team that was getting older around him, you would think they'd want to hold on to young players that show ability. But for some reason, Kuminga's not that guy. Like they'll play Peyton second, they'll play Moody, they'll play these guys, but Kuminga's like reluctantly thrown out there.
Just kind of struggles to fit the system half the time. He doesn't look to swing the rock. He tends to hunt for his own shot and pass like open guys. And I think his, I don't know if it's reluctance, but his inability at times to just play within the system, I think is kind of
Mm-hmm.
what hurts him with Steve Kerr. We've seen that so many times where he'll have, one more pass to hit the wide open, Steph Curry or Buddy Hield or whoever else is out there. Instead, he'll just kind of hunt for his own shot and just jack up a bad shot. So I think he can score, but I think when it comes to Kuminga, his inability at times to score within the system, it hurts him. And I do not think Kerr likes when he, kind of commandeers possessions for himself.
Yeah, that's fair. And Damien, in my opinion, the Warriors need to move on from Kerr. I feel like his time has run out.
I'll trade you.
I feel like the time you might think about Kerr moving on is probably when Curry's ready to retire. Then maybe Kerr moves to the front office or something. trivia question. Durant joins what other players to complete the rainbow colors? I'm
Shaq.
confused by the
Shaq
question.
is one. I know Shaq joined all the different teams to complete the rainbow color jerseys there.
I
trying to
never
think of
even
other
thought about
guys.
it. Yeah.
8
Don't you
other
kind of think
players.
Ish Smith would be a guy who's done it?
Ish probably did it.
Ish Smith played for like 13 teams. He had to have done it. Yeah, Shaq would be a good guess.
I know for sure Shaq and KD have done it.
Okay.
Oh, Shaq
He
is
said
not
Shaq's
on the
not on the
list.
list.
Why did he play for Orlando?
Yeah, which color would he be
Lakers?
missing? Lakers, Magic,
Suns?
Celtics, Suns, Cavs. Am I missing one? Yeah, maybe not. Is Ish Smith on the list, John? That was going to be my guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Ish Smith has to be one. That is actually a really good trivia question.
Yeah, I'm not.
I guess you put some of the guys on the list. I'm looking for something for us to kind of wind up the show with. Here we go. Open this. There we go. Yeah. I guess while John's maybe typing, let's look at. Where is it? There we go.
I will say, since he did mention Durant, I thought that was a great trade by the Houston Rockets. Say at the end of the day, they gave up pretty much nothing of note or that they could use. They replaced their number one scorer with KD, who can still be their number one scorer for like the next 3 years. So I personally love the Durant to the Rockets move because I don't really think they give up anything that kills them to acquire him.
Okay. Yeah, my window refreshed really quickly. No, I agree. I think, KD obviously gives the Rockets something that they need. A guy late in the game, you could just throw it down to him and he can score for you. So yeah, I like the move for them. Oh, John with the answer. Tyson Chandler, okay. Mihailu.
See, okay.
Rodney Hood. There's a name you haven't heard in a while. Robin Lopez,
Rolo.
Mikey Moore, haven't heard that name. Jared Dudley. That's an interesting. Jay Crowder, yeah, Jay Crowder did bounce around. Jared Dudley, I would not have thought about him. A BC guy.
Dennis Schroeder's the 7th.
Dennis
and
Schroeder's
now KD. Okay.
Okay.
It's wild that
Schroeder has sneaky bounced around too.
It's wild how many teams Durant. You wouldn't think Durant has bounced around the league as much as he did.
Yeah, Thunder, Nets, Warriors, now the Rockets. Am I blanking? Oh, Suns, yeah.
And the funny part with Durant. The funny part with KD too is he's played at a high level at every single stop. It's not like he's getting traded because he's washed. He's still such terrific talent.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's kind of wild to think KD keeps bouncing around like he has because he's been elite at every single stop.
Mm-hmm. And look, I wonder when he hangs it up, will he regret leaving Golden State when he did? He might not. I don't know, type of person KD is, but
I'm just waiting for KD to pick the most random team to retire with. I'm going to retire a Phoenix Sun, guys.
I
I
could
would
see
die.
him retiring like a Miami Heat, just living it up on South Beach, kicking his feet up. Like I could see that with him. Let's see. Question with everything happening in the Middle East, do y'all see Canelo and Crawford fight in Jeopardy? I
No.
think yeah. I mean, I think with Middle East, I think you might see a lot of things try to move from there.
I don't think so. A lot of that, a lot like I know like we got the WWE event going on and it's happening in Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Iran or Israel. Neither of them are beefing with Saudi, and I don't think they're gonna really try to go out of their way to go after Saudi Arabia and drag them into
Mm-hmm.
this. So I don't think that anything will get moved, and I think that everybody's gonna be safe. But it is a mess over there, and I definitely would prefer if like the fight and everything got moved out of there just for the safety of everybody. But I don't think it will. And like I said, I hope I'm right, and I don't think either side's going to go out of their way to target Saudi.
Mm-hmm. I mean, because Canelo and Crawford, like there's two guys fighting, maybe. I mean, they obviously have their entourage and stuff. Now, when you're dealing with WWE and so many people who work there, like all it might take is, 5, 6 performers to be like, yeah, I don't feel comfortable going over there to spark the moving of the site. But it is something to watch, obviously going forward. Do y'all think the NFL MLB will rethink going to Europe? Yeah, as John said, MLB doesn't go to Europe. The only place MLB really goes would be like with their Japan series. Oh, they did do well. MLB did do the London series, so that is yeah. I don't think they're worried about
Yeah, I don't, I
Europe
don't,
necessarily. Yeah,
I don't think the NFL or MLB will go like have a full time team in Europe. If anything, they should just establish a league over there because trying to incorporate Europe into the travel schedule just sounds like an
nightmare.
absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, you got to play Seattle, and then your next is in London. So good luck.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think they would, try to set it up so all the London trips would be, following East Coast trips. But like, it just sounds like such a nightmare to try to schedule. So
Yeah.
I don't think they'll do it.
Yeah, I feel like the NFL, like if the NFL tried to rebrand NFL Europe, I could see that. Only thing with MLB is like, is baseball really that popular in Europe to kind of justify it? Probably not right now. I mean, as John said, yes, Europe is all about soccer, but the NFL definitely is growing in Europe. There's a lot of NFL fans over there. MLB, I don't know if necessarily as much as the NFL, but yeah, I wanted to kind of wrap up the show with this for those of you watching. I guess if you're listening with this in the background, NBA on NBC and Amazon coming to the fold next season for the NBA coverage. And we now know who will be a part of each team. Amazon Prime, you got, Stan Van Gundy, Taylor Rooks, Dirk Nowitzki, Blake Griffin, Candace Parker, Steve Nash, Udonis Haslam, Dwayne Wade. Okay. NBA on NBC. Like I said, my childhood was NBA on NBC with that great theme song, which is coming back. So that's going to be great. You got Grant Hill, Maria Taylor, Mike Tirico, who's like the voice of NBC Sports. So that was natural. Vince Carter, Carmelo Anthony, maybe the big surprise, Michael Jordan. I got to see what he's going to be doing. Reggie Miller, and to be honest with you, the dude between Miller and Jordan, I am blanking on what his name is right now. But those are the two coverage teams. John says the NBC coverage will wax the floor against Amazon. I wouldn't sell Amazon necessarily short. Like Candace Parker is good at what she does. Taylor Rooks is good at what she does. I think Dirk and Blake have potential. I mean, I do have some where Nash and Haslam. I mean, yes, the NBC coverage is the better one, but it should be because NBC is kind of going to be like a flagship, and then Amazon will just be kind of supporting. And I guess when you look at these two teams, like what are your thoughts?
I will. I'm just willing to give them a chance. I think there'll be a fresh breath there. I think the guy. You said the guy between Reggie and Michael is the guy that you're blanking on. Isn't that like Noah Eagle?
That's who it is. That yes, I knew who it was. I just blanked on his name. He's not bad.
But listen, I think anything's just better than what we got now. So as long as they come up and they want to talk, ball, and they want to be genuine about their, discussions,
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy about that. That's my problem with the commentators nowadays. They just want to push their own agenda and push narratives instead of talking about the actual game on the court. So if they get to watch the game on the court and talk, enthusiastically and just kind of make it seem like they actually enjoy watching basketball, unlike solitary Smith over there, like I'm happy about it.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean I agree. I agree with that. I mean, yeah, I guess who's maybe one of the newer voices that you're anticipating hearing what they bring.
I'm excited. I'm excited for Dirk. I'm interested in Dirk because obviously Dirk's always just kind of been my guy. NBC coverage team. I think I'm looking at my other guy. Grew up, spent my time in New York during the Melo years, so I'm excited to hear Melo covering the sport.
I think Melo might be really good. All I want to see MJ talk crap about LeBron. I think unfortunately MJ's not going to.
He already said he's not going to. In fact,
yeah, MJ's not one of those like old players who like craps on the game. Like MJ will try to probably build up whoever he wants.
I think he kind of it's been hinted at that one of his goals is to push back kind of against the LeBron hate and overall just try to help like build up the next generation because and I get it, like MJ was great, but it's 2025. We can talk about more than Michael Jordan in 2025. The man hasn't played professional basketball since like 2003. So, I love MJ as much as everybody else, but like, if he can come on there and kind of push this whole conversation forward and ironically, help us move past him, like that would be great.
Yeah. I mean, look, and that's what I'm hoping as well. Like, if he's there to like pump up, Ant and SGA and guys like that, fine, I'm here for it. See, Eagle was the announcer for the USA Men's, yeah, and Carmelo did some work during the Olympics as well. So, yeah, I mean, I know Noah Eagle is. I just blanked on his name. So, yeah. I think what people might realize with Dirk. Like Dirk kind of has like a dry sense of humor to him, which I can appreciate. So I think Dirk's gonna be really entertaining. LeBron ruined Space Jam. Well,
Like at the end of the day, anything's better than some of these guys covering like the sport. Like,
yes.
You got that bum Stephen A. He'd rather shit talk the city of Memphis than actually talk about basketball or just sports in general. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. You see the crap he got for having solitaire on his phone, and he got so defensive about it.
Yeah, no, he's just an idiot. Well, Jimmy didn't want to go to Memphis because of how dangerous it is. Like, I think Jimmy would show up to my local YMCA rec team if they gave him the max. But also, like, you're talking about danger. And yeah, I'm sure Jimmy's so worried about danger. That's why he went to Golden State where they had an athlete get actually shot. So, like, that was terrible. Or you have Skip Bayless trying to push this stupid narrative of See, Hallie's faking his calf injury. Hallie's faking his
Oh my
calf injury.
god,
Then he pops
that
the Achilles.
such a
And then
loser, man.
like Skip is just such an old fraud that needs to retire. He's fucking awful. Like I'm tired of hearing about him. It's just annoying.
Yeah,
And Stephen A, dude, if you're just gonna go into politics and leave the sports behind. Like you're
exactly.
washed, and Skip is even more washed.
Yeah. Also, Halliburton did say he would play on the injury again if he had to, and I'm like, yeah, it was the finals. Of course, he was going to. See, Jory, his daughter flamed him, and it was hilarious. That was kind of funny. Like if you did not know she was his daughter, like she had the same kind of demeanor. Like she's like, I'm talking here, wanting the mic back in front of her. Like, yeah, that was hilarious. John, I would vehemently disagree with you. Maria Taylor is good at what she does, and I mean
Nah,
Barkley and them, they're still doing their thing out of the TNT studios. It's just going to be on ESPN. Like they're all fine with their current setup. Although TNT Sports is going through some issues right now, but
now at this point, leave Chuck over with his crew on
yeah,
TNT. Like at the end of the day, with I think a big part of like the draw to this is moving forward, and I think a lot of those inside the NBA guys are probably about ready to retire. Honestly, from TV, like I can't imagine they'd want to
mm-hmm.
go down that much longer. But the thing with Charles Barkley isn't like part of the magic with those guys is those guys being together. As much as
Yeah,
I'm over them, like part of like the magic there is the chemistry between him, Shaq, Ernie, like. So Chuck would probably do fine mixed with other people, but at the same time, like seeing Charles Barkley and Steve Nash, like you start bringing him away from guys like Ernie and Shaq, like in Kenny the Jet. Like I don't know, that would kind of feel wrong, wouldn't it?
mm-hmm. Yeah. Not throwing shade to. I got you, John. I got you.
But no, I just want fresh perspectives at this point. Give
Mm-hmm.
me a brand new reset.
Yeah, because I think when you're looking at these guys, that's what you're gonna get. Like Grant Hill, Vince, Carmelo, Reggie. Like those are guys who are going to talk about today's players and not do the whole "I get off my lawn" type of stance. And you get the veterans with like Tarico's and even Van Gundy. Like Van Gundy's been in the game for a while now, so I mean, yeah, I just like it. I mean, Blake Griffin, Blake's got a clown side to him, so I do think he might be somebody who he might be like the most quotable out of them. But yeah, I just like the balance that we'll kind of probably see. Because Vince, like even on TNT, like Vince does good work. It's just sometimes he gets dragged in to the Shaq stuff. Where now you get him away from that, I think you'll get the best version of all these guys. Hope they do the choke against Miller first day. All right. Yeah, I mean, just wanted to kind of end the show, obviously highlighting these two teams because, like you said, I'm ready for new coverage for the NBA, and I'm perfectly okay with this. Haslam and Wade, we'll see. Because as I put in our little chat, I'm watching Wade because of that draft, because of the dunk contest nonsense that he pulled. I'm keeping my eye on him. And Haslam, whatever. Nash, I mean, I don't know how good Nash will be, but everybody else, I can roll with.
Kyle's just hating on those two for heat culture, baby.
I mean, no need to give up my secrets, but yeah, it is probably some heat culture hate. I mean, Wade probably will be good. I don't know. How about the Braves sweeping the Mets? I mean, the Braves need to string together some good games. They are losing tonight, yes. Yeah, look, that's kind of all we have for you. Brett, anything you want to add before we get out of here? Let them know what
Uh,
got coming up.
yeah. Say of course. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Skip and Stephen A. It's time to hang it up, big dogs. Coming up next, we got the Meaty Boys podcast at 8 p.m. Central. If you want to talk wrestling with Mo and I, more than welcome to tune in. It's going to be a great time. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh my God, Orioles! What happened to them? Never replenished their pitching. That's what happened to them. Yeah. So guys, make sure you come back about 25 minutes. You get some wrestling talk on Meaty Boys. So join Mo and Guardy 3 over there. And I guess get caught up on wrestling. You're fans. If not, just tune in anyway. Get some entertainment. So until next week, which by next week we'll be talking, I guess, draft. Because we'll finally know where Ace Bailey ends up. Because that's just a fascinating story to me. Like at this point,
Not the Philly.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of crazy in itself. That it's like, who did he say he wanted to play for? The Thunder, which you want to play for the defending champions? Great. Um, yeah, so I got to see where Ace Bailey ends up. That's going to be great theater, and we might get a bunch of trades because it seems like teams are willing to wheel and deal. That always makes draft night fun. But yes, Jory, I was about to say, Friday I will be back on Wire to Wire for Passion and Precision with Jory. As she put, special edition. All I'm gonna say is we're about to be final burn times a million on there. So you got to make sure you're here Friday night for all of that. So until next week, when we're back here for On the Ball, for Guardy 3 and myself, we're out of here. See you all later. All right, bye.